Hi, I'm Hannah, and this is Lisa, and today we're going to be talking about, are there other gods? Now that's a big touchy subject.
Yes, it is a touchy subject. Well, of course there are other gods, because if there were not other gods, how come one of the 10 Commandments or the 10 words in Exodus 23:4 says, you shall have no other gods before me?
Right.
In Genesis 35:2, Jacob tells his household to put away all the strange gods from among you.
Mm-hmm.
Exodus 12:12, Elohim himself says that he's going to execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Exodus 15:11, who is like you, O Lord, among the gods? Exodus 18:11, the Lord is greater than all the gods. And in Exodus, we also read that did not God tell Moses that he was going to be like a god to Pharaoh and to Aaron?
That's true.
And that's just a few scriptures.
Right. So, does this mean that we've got this pantheon of gods just roaming around all over the place?
Well, if you believed Greek mythology,
yeah.
yes, you
Yes.
would have a pantheon of multiple gods. And we would just claim that our God was one of many,
Mm-hmm.
and we would claim he was at the top, Right.
Right.
But that's just not the way it is. So what are these other gods
Well,
to you?
to me, in the Bible, it does talk about that God, the Bible talks about angelic beings, these beings that are in God's heavenly court, and references them as gods, little g.
Little g.
Yes, they are not supreme beings like God, they're not echad, they are not one
That's
God.
right.
They are lesser beings, but they are referred to with a little g. And then also, by the same token, because we know that Satan fell, he was an angelic being, and those demonic entities that he took with him, they're also called gods because they are behind the idol worship and everything that goes on, because Paul says that we basically exist in a world within a world. We have a world we can see, but there's a world we can't see.
That's right.
And we've got demonic forces, we've got principalities.
That's what I was going to say, those principalities and powers
all
rulers
around
of the
us.
areas.
Yeah, that do rule over an area. Now, I think it's the book of Enoch, and I know that is not like
In the canon.
in the canon, but the book of Enoch talks about how after the fall of Babel, that God gave over the nations, 69 nations, to 69 demonic principalities, basically. Like Michael is over Israel.
Right.
though
Well,
the
in
Bible-
Daniel, you read about how he was detained
Mhm.
because of the Prince of Persia, was
Right.
it, that came to, withstand
Him,
him?
right.
So he was a principality, or a little g god, over that area.
Right. So there are principalities, there are princes that rule over the nations. Michael happens to be the one over Israel as its protector. And these principalities, they are fighting against God all the time. They are trying to thwart his will at every turn. So how do you see it?
Well, yeah, I see it, they're demonic beings, with the head of all of these demonic beings being Satan,
Mhm.
in which we know he's been in opposition since the very beginning.
Right.
With the forces of evil, with the forces of light, and he has all of his minions,
Mhm.
all the demons up under him, but also a leader in the world can be called a little g god.
Right.
Well,
Pharaoh thought of himself as a god.
That's right.
Because their ceremonies and everything, they were actually inaugurated into being the firstborn of, I think it's Horus, I think it was.
Yep.
All pharaohs were actually, and then once that pharaoh died, another one came, and then he was the firstborn of Horus, and the other
Yeah.
one just went to the underworld. It was kind of not logical, but you understand what I'm saying. They thought of themselves as gods here on earth.
And they can be referred to.
Mhm.
Leaders on earth can be referred to. I'm talking about regular human beings as little g gods, powerful leaders, human
Right.
beings. But mostly it's these demonic beings, like in, for example, with Paul in his writings, when I think it's in the Corinth, he talks about the food laws, the food issues, they're having with eating food that's sacrificed to idols.
Right.
And he says, well, if your conscience is is okay with it. Just don't ask any questions. You know, don't ask if it's been sacrificed to an idol.
Yeah.
Just eat it.
Yeah.
But he says, because we know there really aren't any other gods. There's just one God.
Yes.
But there are, he says, they're sacrificing to demons. So that's what you were talking about.
Right.
It's those demonic beings. But even with, also if we look at the story of the witch of Endor
Mm-hmm.
and Samuel,
Right.
you know, they try to call up, Saul goes and tries to call up Samuel, which that's a whole nother topic.
Right.
But if you look up the word, that it says that this being's coming up out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Saul says, so that's Samuel. If you look up that word, it says Elohim.
Oh.
All right?
Okay.
So if you go back to Genesis 1:1, what's the first word that's used for God?
Elohim.
Elohim.
Right.
So you there have the big E, Elohim, and another little E, Elohim.
Right.
Because that demonic power that was coming up, that familiar spirit
Mhm.
that was coming up there at the witch of Endor was a Elohim, or a little E, or a little G.
demonic God.
A little demonic entity.
Yes, absolutely. And we are foolish today to think that these entities don't exist in our world. I think sometimes that Western civilization has gotten so arrogant that we think logic and knowledge and anything that we can see is all that there is, and that we don't actually believe in a world that's outside of our own, and we get into trouble for it because,
Right.
you know, we've got so much evil in the world, and the level of evil that is in this world, to me, cannot be humanly possible without demonic entities behind it, fueling it,
Right.
pushing it.
And so many people in today, we think we are beyond the ancient world.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, we don't have idols today like they
Right.
had idols, and we don't worship those pagan gods like they did, but we do. They're still here.
Mm-hmm.
They're still operating in the same ways. They may be called by different names, but they're still the same gods,
Mhm.
little g's,
Yes.
and they're still operating in the same fashion. And we still have idols.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be little carved images of a cow or a calf or whatever, but we still have idols, and they are all backed by Satan,
Right.
that we have to continue to fight against. That's, like we said, that principalities and powers, darkness that we're warned about.
Exactly.
That's the little gods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, you got anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, well, we appreciate you being here with us, and we will see you next time.